Broncos country. What is going on? Breaking news. Dre Greenlaw. We got him, one of the top linebackers, maybe the top linebacker in this year's free agency class, signing with his teammate Talanoa Hufanga. Man, I love this for our Broncos. Marquee Sports.
What's up, my
Let us
man?
know, man. How are you feeling about all this?
Oh, you already know, dude. I feel like I've tired myself out talking about Dre Greenlaw. Super pumped. Was really worried that we were going to lose him to some team, and then it was going to be more of like a, some sort of like a tease. But it worked out, man. We got our guy. How you feeling, dude?
Dude, I'm so pumped about this. 3 years, let's see, $35 million deal. Hey, shout out to Andy who's in the chat right now. I'm pulling up your tweet right now saying this. The Broncos are signing inside linebacker Dre Greenlaw to a 3-year, $35 million deal. We will be seeing the electric 49ers duo of Hufanga and Greenlaw back together with the Broncos. Huge signing. Absolutely. And again, you're getting him for essentially $12 million a year. We'll see what the guarantees are, man. But I'm thrilled about this. Whoa, I lost you. I'm thrilled about this. I don't feel like we got any glaring weakness on defense now, because now Alex Singleton, he becomes like your number 2 linebacker. I think that's huge. We'll get to some of your comments. Y'all be sure, like the stream, subscribe to the channels. I even threw Kodiak's in the description as well, along with Marquee Sports. We also got Jeremy coming up here. Just give me a thumbs up when you're ready for me to bring you on stage. Oh, we'll get his thoughts right away. Jeremy, how are you feeling about this signing, man?
Good, man. I mean, what a day for the former San Francisco 49ers guys. You got Greenlaw, you got DJ Jones coming back, and you got Hufanga. I mean, I wonder how much recruiting DJ did today.
I think he did some, man. He had to have.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I saw that he had already tweeted like, "It's up, Law." So he's excited for sure. And man, getting all those guys going. San Francisco's loss is our gain for sure.
Yeah. And I just love it. Like, with the linebacker market we got right now, the fact that we got Greenlaw and I think Singleton on a pretty fair deal right now. I mean, less money than Cody Barton's getting, which I think is nice. So yeah, I don't feel like we got a glaring weakness on defense at all. And I think, man, these 49ers players, they're really going to benefit from getting out here to Denver, man, where we got a real training staff where we keep everybody healthy, man. Nobody's talking about that issue with the Niners, man. And yeah, I just love it.
Yeah, such a good point. I mean, that's the one thing where San Francisco lacked for 2 years, that's the reason why our team has like overachieved. Bo Lowry and the boys like keeping us healthy from what we came from. And that's what has been San Francisco's downfall. I mean, great coaches, great players, but just can't stay on the field. And man, if we can get those guys like solved, maybe it was bad luck, maybe it was just, I don't know. But I mean, you signed a former first team All-Pro in Hufanga.
Mm-hmm.
DJ's coming back, and everybody on the line, you saw their reaction to that, how excited they were, which means to me, you love the guy that will gladly grind and do the dirty work so you can like succeed. Like you can have Benito and Zach Allen. I mean, Zach Allen was probably more excited than DJ was. And then now with Greenlaw, the weakness of all weaknesses we've had. You know, some people were bummed that we lost Barton today, but man, Barton did an admirable job, and thank you, Cody, for your service. But man, you can't help but be super excited about Greenlaw now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've loved what we've done so far in free agency. Aside from, well, I don't know. We'll see what we do on the offensive side. Evan Ingram still being wined and dined, hopefully, now by the Broncos.
Hopefully. Yeah.
But man, I'm curious, Mark, like what have been your other thoughts on today? Some of the other free agent signings, whether they were with the Broncos or somebody else. I mean, it was crazy to kind of see that, man, Darius Slayton freaking only $12 million going back to the Giants.
That
man,
one kind of hurt me.
That hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah, that one kind of hurt me. You know, I mean, it's like every year is the same thing. Guys get signed for so much more than we anticipate. And it always seems to kind of still catch me by surprise every year. But, you know, it's interesting because when you see a lot of the signings, it allows for your signings, you know, specifically like the DJ Jones ones, where I've been pretty vocal. Like I wasn't the biggest fan of necessarily re-signing him, but then you see, okay, Milton Williams is who I wanted and how much more he got, then it starts to make a lot more sense for the team.
Was it double?
Pretty much double. Yeah. In every way, like in average annual and guaranteed money and all that. So, I mean, I like it because you know what you're getting in DJ Jones. Obviously the guys love him. I mean, there were so many players really, except for John Franklin Myers, who were like coming out and all fired up about it. But I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better start for me personally. I think for the Broncos, it was two phenomenal players at huge positions of need. You know, both guys are on my top 5 wish list overall. Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga as well. So it was cool. And then I think Evan Ingram would be a really nice cherry on top. So hopefully we'll get that, man. Maybe we'll break it here live because y'all already know we get it quicker than everybody with this Discord channel we got going on. So
yes, y'all be sure to join the Discord. Free trial, and it's just a cup of coffee after that to keep the trolls out. Links in the description. Jeremy, what have been some more of your thoughts on the rest of free agency? DJ Jones, Jarrett Stidham, where some of our former Broncos have gone. Curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I personally was all in for getting either Stidham or Wilson back. I figured it'd be Stidham because Wilson was going to go for probably more just because based off of the potential. It seems like they want that room. They loved that room last year. I think it was a benefit for Bo Nix, that room, and Davis Webb being back, thank God. And yeah, no, I think it's great. I think it's great because it's if you can lock down your backup role for $6 million a year, somebody who you can trust, and he played fine. Like people were, I mean, Bo Nix exploded, so we all like kind of don't even remember Stiddy, but for the first part of training camp, like it was like who's gonna win the job, and if it's close we'll give it to Bo Nix. But Stidham was fine. So I think that's a great signing, and it just shows you Sean Payton, once they're in the building, I mean, that's another kudos to him where it's just like those guys don't want to leave. Like Stidham is fine being like, I'll do it for $6 million because if I do get a chance to go in, I have a chance to be successful, as opposed to maybe signing it for a couple more million and then God knows what it's going to be like. So I thought that was a great deal. Greenlaw's huge just because the inside linebacker market just went so insane that I was worried that it was like, okay, well, I guess I thought that was the reason why we did DJ Jones for a little bit more, just to like kind of solidify the run defense. But yeah, that was the one I was a little surprised that before the signing here. And then running back, I think we were kind of, Mark went live earlier and we kind of talked about it. I wrote in the comments that I'm okay with Estime, Jaleel, and a rookie running back. And you can kind of pick your spot in this draft with maybe somebody, unless, I mean, you might not be able to get Genty. You might not want to go 20 overall with Hampton, depending. Maybe you will.
Yeah.
But you can kind of, it's so deep. If you feel confident that you can get somebody that you really like later, I could see them doing that. And yeah, no, it's exciting. I kind of always felt like in this cycle, like let's spend money on defense for free agents and then draft offense. Because those are the guys that are going to be like young and upcoming, but we keep everybody young and low cost for Bo. But then you spending your money a little more on the defense. And I think that's kind of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, Mark, what are you expecting in terms of our approach right now with offense? Are we gonna punt on wide receiver, man, until the draft? Like, how are you feeling outside of tight end? About our
Yeah, I mean,
strategy moving forward.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Cooper Cup ordeal. But there's been multiple reports from like a lot of local people that are, very trustworthy, consistently saying that they didn't really feel like they were going to, attack the wide receiver market. So we'll see. Overall, so I don't know. I mean, obviously, Cup would be a dream. At this point, it's like, okay, if we got Cooper Cup and then we signed Evan Ingram, it would be like that's kind of too good of an offseason of a of a free agency period so far. So I don't know, man. But I'm not as down overall on the wide receiver market, because for me, I've always said, like, unless you're going to try to upgrade your number one wide receiver, there's no reason to bring in another guy that's just going to take snaps away from the Troy Franklins and Devon Bailey and all that, because you've got to do some roster building. You have to believe in your ability to draft and develop. I also like a lot of receivers from the draft, so I'd be fine if we held off. But like we were talking a little bit about, like Matt Collins as as kind of the lower level, or one of those, or Alan Lazard, right? But it's like, I just look at those kinds of signings as more, you're just kind of causing a disruption rather than actually upgrading. Like, you can't sit there and tell me, oh, okay, Matt Collins might be a better blocker than Bailey or Franklin, but Franklin, they're going to give you a lot more upside and juice. So I think that's what they're really betting on. And I feel like Sean Payton is really, I think the way he's looking at it now for himself is he trusts himself in terms of like his ability to coach up these guys and get the most out of them. And so he's like, as long as I got a really solid defense, somebody that's making a lot of plays, he'll be able to do it. But I think that there's going to be a lot of moves offensively. It's just going to be something we're a little bit more patient with. But let me ask you, David, I'm curious how you're feeling. I know of all the signings that we made today, your favorite one was Matt Pert. So how are you feeling about the Matt Pert?
Man, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what about Matt Pert, man. He came in for a handful of snaps this past year. Surprised me, man, because if you remember when he was signed, I was like, man, what a waste of money. And then I'm like projecting my 53 last summer, and I'm just like, man, just cut this guy immediately, man. He like why? But hey, credit to Zach Strief. We got great play out of Matt Pert last year. So maybe he's your backup left tackle with Palczewski as your backup right tackle. I really like that. Yeah. In today's economy, if your backup left tackle costs essentially the same price as Javonte Williams to the Cowboys, I'm cool with that. I'm totally cool with that. Give Frank Crum another year to develop. Does give you some flexibility. You don't necessarily need to draft another guy this year, but I mean, you can if he's the best player on the board. But I like that kind of signing. I love Stidham back at $6 a year. I wish that we could have retained Zach Wilson, but he gets a better path to start with injury-prone Tua there, and I'm very interested to see how he does in a Mike McDaniel offense. So, I think we've done a pretty good job of retaining the most important guys. I think we might be a little split on this. I'm curious y'all's thoughts. Tremont Smith going for the same price essentially as Javonte Williams out to Houston as essentially a special teamer. I'm totally okay with this because I know he's an elite special teamer, but I don't want to pay a guy $3.5 million for a guy that can't cover. To be like your worst corner on the team too. Like, I just didn't like that. So I'm curious, what did you guys make of that? And then for everybody that's new joining the stream, again, be sure to like it, join the chat, all that. But Mark, I want to get your thoughts on this as well. And if you could kind of rehash and recap this for the new viewers, why is Dre Greenlaw such an important signing? But yeah, let's start with Tremont Smith.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, with Tremont Smith, I was totally fine with it. I kind of forgot that he was even an unrestricted free agent. I get that he's like special teams ace, and he's somebody that has done a really good job. And it's one of those positions where it's got a lot of importance, but you don't really see it in the stat sheet. But just like you had said, I mean, if that's the only value that you can bring, like there's not a situation where if we had a bunch of corners go down, would you trust him at all? Whereas like when you look at someone like Justin Sternad, for example, he was also brought back for his special teams ability. He also showed that he could step in and play, when needed and put in some decent games and reps and all that. Also with Darren Rizzi, man, like I trust he's going to be able to look and say if he's got an idea of somebody that can replace Tremon Smith or they feel like they can get some guys that are better. I'm all for it. There comes a point where you just can't keep allocating that kind of money to strictly special teamers when you still have quite a bit of holes on this roster. I wouldn't say holes, but you still need to get some talented guys. It's not like we're a very complete roster yet. So,
Jeremy?
Yeah. So I kind of will disagree. You can look at it two ways, really, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay $3.5 million for your fifth cornerback who's not great, right? Nobody does. That's crazy. But his value and why we were like, when the final rosters came out and we're like, oh my gosh, Tremon Smith got on the roster compared to whoever else. And it shows you how much and how important they care about special teams. And this is like the type of guy Bill Belichick always had Matthew Slater for how many years? Like that's his dude that's going to run special teams for him. We had that back in the day when we were winning our Super Bowls with Keith Burns. There's just certain captains that you're like, all right, get those guys in line. You're the vet. You're the guy running it. And $3.5 million in today's money is relatively low. I mean, it's more than you want to pay. You want to pay nothing for it, but it's just that's not the case.
It's Matt Pert money. Yeah.
Right. It's just interesting because Javonte could literally only do one thing well at this point, and that was pass protect. But they kept playing him because they knew how important that was. And Tremon Smith is like, he can't really cover as well as our other guys, but like he got on the roster and was instrumental in so many games because of what he could do on special teams. So it just goes to show you those things are, as fans, we kind of like go, we can get somebody else to do that. But if you're giving up 50-yard kickoff returns and punt returns left and right, you're going to be like, where's Tremon Smith? So it's not important until it is important. So but Mark said, Darren Rizzi's coming in. Maybe he has his own guy that he wants to go with, or maybe they just trust in the fact that his philosophy, his coaching, his system, they don't need to spend the 3.5 on a special teams ace. We'll see. But it made me a little worried just because I was like, I know how valuable that guy is on those kind of things. But
yeah, it would be nice. Like one of the guys that I always think about in terms of like a special teams ace is like really important to us was David Bruton. But he was also like playable in the defensive backfield.
Totally.
And that's what I'm hoping for. Maybe we can find that kind of guy this year in the draft because, I think with where we're at, it's kind of a luxury that I guess we could afford it, if we're signing Matt Pert for $3.5 million. But I would prefer for us to put that $3.5 million towards, something else. But again, Mark, I would love for you to break down again before we get into some of these other comments over here. What does Dre Greenlaw do for this Broncos defense? How do you see him pairing well with Alex Singleton if we choose to keep him?
And I think based off of what Kliss just tweeted, he had kind of assumptively said like he's a great. He said got the kind of wheels the Broncos are looking for to team with Alex Singleton. A lot of the times when someone like Kliss says that, it's like almost like he knows. So we'll see what ultimately happens. But let me tell you, dude. Dre Greenlaw is the best. I think he'll immediately be the best inside linebacker we've had since Danny Trevathan days.
Let's go.
He's an absolute alpha. He's extremely well-rounded, and people forgot just how good and important he was, especially for that 49ers team that ultimately ended up, losing in the Super Bowl because he popped his Achilles in the Super Bowl. I really think that there could be a different outcome with that game, but unbelievable leader, things he always heard about. And what really caught my attention is I never even thought about like Dre Greenlaw even coming to Denver at the time, but when they announced it on the Super Bowl, the sideline reporters kept talking about it just deflated this team. And the announcers were like, this guy is so good. He's a team captain and he's the green dot guy. So I think you've got an immediate alpha right away. Philip Lindsay talked about it on the drive today about he played up against them. He said the guy's incredibly vocal. He's an unbelievable athlete. His teammates love him. He's just the exact kind of like alpha mentality player that we need in the middle of the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that we're getting him a year removed from that injury, right? Because now you can put that injury in the past. He had some soreness and some things that he dealt with last year. I think he's going to be good to go. And it's important to know, like, yes, we got 2 players that have injury histories, but this is why Bo Lowry and the staff are so incredibly important to the organization. And now that we have 2 years of data about, our players' ability to like stay healthy, not go on IR and all that, like the 2 seasons, it's a huge secret weapon because a lot of players that maybe other organizations wouldn't take, a shot on, we are now like, hey, we trust in our process and what we can do. And, I love it. I dig it. So, I think it's going to be, I think if it's Singleton and him, it's a really good combo. If it's Drew Sanders and him, it'd be an intriguing combo. Both of them were Arkansas Razorbacks. Both of them popped their Achilles recently. So that could be a little something. We'll see how that works out. But no, I think Dre Greenlaw is an immediate just dog on the defense. And we kind of like that. Like our defense has been really good for the last couple of years, but I never really felt like we were tough or like kind of badass or had like a lot of, I don't know, there's like a swagger factor missing to it. And maybe it's because we got really, with the Super Bowl 50 defense, we were really spoiled by it. But I think we're really bringing it back with guys like Hufanga, with Greenlaw. So you got a guy that can cover. He can play the run. He's just going to be a vocal leader. I can't wait to see him, man. It's going to be awesome. And then one last thing on the Traymon Smith. I think the main reason I'm happy that he's gone is because he was holding that number 1 jersey so hostage. And now finally we can see it be worn by somebody that hopefully plays because it's such a good number. And I'm like, dude, why? Yeah, like exactly. You could take one of these college running backs and give him the number 1 and be pretty sweet. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Jeremy, thoughts?
Yeah, let me piggyback on what you said, Mark, about how our defense had not had that domination, like aggressiveness, killer mentality. And I think that was one of the first things that Sean Payton and I kind of identified. Everybody was like freaking out when we let Justin Simmons walk and he brought in Brandon Jones and we just saw what type of guy he likes. And now, man, today, look at what he just, the safety and the linebacker that he just swapped out. I mean, it's just a different, I love the fact that it's like, okay, everybody's like, we have to play Patrick Mahomes. We have to play Justin Herbert, all this stuff. Well, not only do you have Benito and Allen to worry about up front, but now you got Greenlaw and Hufanga and Jones and PS2 and Riley Moss. And it's like, man, if we can be healthy, like this could be a very, very dominant defense and one that's like aggressive enough where people are afraid to like, I loved back in the day with Atwaters and those kind of guys that every ball over the middle, those guys of their team's receiver was thinking about it. And they were alligator arming a lot of passes just because they were like, where are those people at? And when you got those guys across the middle and Jones and Hufanga and Riley Moss is all that. I mean, I could see a lot of turnovers this season just from like pure aggressiveness of what we have.
Yeah, I love the fact I feel like we just got like a bunch of great culture setters that are coming in, and they're not even having to be setters because we've already established the culture over the last couple of years. They're going to add to it. The one thing, and Mark, you kind of alluded to this a little bit, that I think we're kind of missing just in terms of the team chemistry right now is like that loose cannon a little bit, like an Aqib Talib. Like we kind of need that kind of guy, or a guy who's gonna kind of teeter on that line of being maybe a little too dirty, but you love him. You love him for that.
If he's on,
I don't know who that kind of loose cannon is. A guy like Tyleik Williams kind of could be that out of Ohio State if we choose to take him in the second round if he's available on their defensive line. But yeah, or like Emmanuel Sanders kind of felt like that a little bit, just, he handled himself with like a little bit of swagger, on that offense during those Super Bowl 50 years. So, yeah, we kind of need somebody like that. But overall, man, I just love everybody that we got on the defense right now. No concerns in terms of any glaring weak areas. We can truly draft the best players available, whether they're on offense or on defense. And I think that's absolutely tremendous. Want to give a shout out to Pete. Says, I'm a Niners fan. Denver's getting a great player and a great person in Dre Greenlaw. That fits our mold. We don't really have, a lot of divas, stuff like that. And we have a history of, I think, making fantastic free agency signings on the defensive side of the ball that kind of fit this mold of a Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga. I think it's, tremendous. So hey,
and we got him, and we got him for less than Robert Spillane, and he's younger than Robert Spillane. Just imagine that.
How old is he? 26.
Greenlaw's 27. I think he'll be 28 in June or something. But yeah, Spillane is 29.
Yeah.
And listen, I get it. I mean, Spillane had a really good year, but not in any universe is Dre Greenlaw at his best and Robert Spillane at his best. Are they even close? So yeah, it's a really good it's a really good signing overall. Sorry, go ahead. I totally interrupted you. My bad.
Well, I was gonna say we finally can like cover tight ends effectively now. We got enough guys that can do it. Brock Bowers is going to be a pain in our butt for the next 10 years probably. But we got a handful of guys now that can contribute towards shutting him down. Travis Kelce, we can cover him now. He's still a very good tight end at 37 when he chooses to give effort. So this is just absolutely tremendous for us having better success in the division as well. And finally beating the freaking Chargers, man. Hopefully we can get those additions on offense that we need to run the ball effectively so we're not giving up leads. But I just feel like we're going to go toe-to-toe with every offense in the AFC West now. With this defense, we're going to give them hell, and I love that. Even with, like, Najee Harris probably going to the Chargers, it seems like that's what's going to happen now. I wouldn't mind signing J.K. Dobbins at this rate as a veteran back. So, if he comes at like 20% of a Najee Harris, I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, we can draft an Omarion Hampton at 20. We can go get a Quinshon Judkins or how do you guys feel about Travion Henderson right now? I said earlier today, if Sean Payton feels like he's Ja Gibbs, like you just draft him at 20, right? Like you don't try and get cute with it. You just draft him there at 20. How do you guys feel about how we'll approach the draft? Jeremy?
That would be rich for my blood. 20. I would love, honestly, this draft is so perfect for a trade back a little bit, load up round 2, and then start going crazy. I mean, if you could do that, I mean, you could get Henderson, maybe Hampton. You could get receivers like A.O. Manor or Betch or Restrepo. You could get guys. There's defensive linemen that are going to be there. You could even get your center and like Gray Zabel if he slips a little bit. I mean, ideally, as much as we're all excited, if Genty, Warren, Colston, Loveland are off the board at 20 and you can trade back, to me, that's the move. So I think you could just do damage in the second, third rounds this year.
Yeah, I totally agree. Travion Henderson's probably one of my favorite players in the draft, but unless it's Ashton Genty level talent, I'm never in favor of drafting a running back in round 1, especially when it's this deep of a class. And, to piggyback on what T. Fish says, he said, who's the best catching running back in the draft? In my opinion, it's LaQuint Allen or Brashard Smith.
Yeah.
Both guys you can get in the mid rounds. Both guys I'd be thrilled with. So yeah, I mean, I think just like Jeremy said, it's a great draft to trade back into. It's a great draft to be able to get 2 running backs you like, right? You can get one kind of pounder running back, like a, Damien Martinez even, or Caleb Johnson, and then another guy that's going to give you a little bit more out of the backfield. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally good with just kind of waiting it out and seeing, seeing what happens. And do I think the Broncos will? I don't know, because they could probably sell the idea that like, oh, we're really high on Audric Estime still and Bidet, like just to kind of throw a little bit of smoke. So I think they could probably pull that off. But yeah, I mean, I think let's do it all in the draft, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. And even like UDFA running backs, I think they're going to be there's going to be some signings that we bring in after the draft that could push guys like Jaleel as well, or Audric. Again, with this running back, you might see 20 to 30 running backs drafted this year, and there's going to be more after that I think should command value. But yeah, I think it is pretty telling, right now that we haven't made a signing. Now, I would like to see if the price is right. Rico Dowdle, Marky.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I'm interested to see what kind of market he commands.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think he's probably going to get a pretty decent contract offer still, mainly because he's kind of the only guy left between him and Najee. I think once Najee signs, the dominoes will fall for him to kind of get an idea. He'll probably come in a little bit less, but I think he's probably still too rich for kind of what we're looking for. I was really all aboard the Aaron Jones train. I felt like just the situation, it made a lot of sense for what we needed. But now that that's gone, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. It's going to be interesting. Be interesting to see, but I'm not overly worried about running back. I think we can figure it out.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think that just might cover it now in terms of how I'm feeling about free agency. But yeah, I guess we can kind of wrap this up here in a little bit just by talking about, are there any other guys that you would really like us to target as we get into day 2, day 3 of free agency, whether they're big names or depth signings? I'm trying to think, like, off the top of my head, what our remaining salary cap space will be. Man,
I think we still got. I still think we got a pretty decent amount of room, and it's so easy to create more space. I anticipate Zach Allen's going to get an extension, but they probably wanted to go through free agency first, and then that'll lower the cap. And then if you wanted to redo a deal with Singleton, extend him out another year, you can bring that down. PJ Locke now, I mean, you can get rid of him and save, I think, $4.5 million. So there's a lot of ways that you can create the space. I wouldn't be surprised if Greenlaw and Hufanga together were like $8 to $10 million against the cap combined this year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't surprise me. I bet you it's a small little dent. So
we could still clear $20 million pretty easily. So I still feel like we can make a nice, like, headline type of signing if we wanted to. Whether Evan Ingram, obviously we're still in on somebody else like that. Jeremy, any guys that you'd like the Broncos to target?
I mean, the two main ones are the ones that we've already talked about: Cooper Kupp and Evan Ingram. I mean, if you can. Ingram's in the building. I think if you don't sign Ingram, it's going to be because of the physical. I don't think it's going to be for anything other than that. So that is what it is. I think if they feel comfortable that they're going to sign him, I don't think on the first day of free agency, you have him come into the building and see everything and then be like, sorry, but I guess we're going to move on and but that's just how the injury goes. I think that's probably going to happen still, but Kupp would be perfect for offense. Yeah, running back is like the most glaring need we have right now, sitting where we're sitting right this second, besides tight end, if we don't sign Ingram. But luckily, this is a good draft for both of those positions. So yeah, I don't see that. We did a lot of lifting where we didn't make ourselves desperate come draft time, which is exactly what you want to do for free agency. So I like where we're sitting. I think those were good contracts. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we paid so much for this guy or that guy. I almost sometimes get scared on the first day of free agency of like, you can really screw your team up on the first day of free agency, even though it's very exciting. Like, I'd rather like diversify your investments than just putting it all your eggs in one basket kind of a thing. So, but I like these signings so far. So that's the only thing I'm looking at is just what's the status with those guys. And
I know that, yeah, Zach Allen wants to be extended. You know, John Franklin Meyer's been pretty vocal on Twitter that he wants a new deal to stay in Denver, right?
Yes.
But I still feel like we could improve the defensive line rotation, like behind them. Of course, we can do that in the draft, getting a guy like Derek Harmon or plenty of other guys. But a guy that I'm just curious what his market value is that I would love to sign as like a premier rotational guy still would be Tershawn Wharton from the Kansas City Chiefs. If we still have a ton of cap space to work with or a good amount, I would love doubling down on defensive line now that we kind of have linebackers, secondary taken care of. Because I feel pretty good about Lavelle Bailey, Drew Sanders being your third and fourth linebackers. Maybe you draft somebody, but if Zach Allen were to go down, I don't want Jordan Jackson right now, or if it's not a first round rookie, I don't know how comfortable I feel with having a guy get a ton of snaps in his absence, and a guy like Tershawn Wharton could fill in, I think, pretty well. So that's a guy that I'm looking at. Yeah,
that's a really good name. Somebody like that would make a lot of sense. And who knows, man? It could be one of those where you, in your head, you're like, yeah, maybe like $5-6 million. He's going to end up getting like a $12 million deal.
Exactly. So,
but
it's
probably
not going to happen because he's got the Super Bowl tax, the Chiefs tax, all that. But we'll have to see. Guys, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to grab some food now. But everybody in the chat, thank you so much for joining as well. Please be sure to subscribe to Marky's channel. That's in the description. Join the Discord as well, and hit that bell for notifications so you know when we go live and talk about any of the big news coming up. So really appreciate it. Closing thoughts. Do you guys have any closing thoughts? Jeremy, Mark?
My closing thoughts are just like this day is always feels like half Christmas. Like it's the middle of nothing's happening tomorrow. Like there's no games to be played for a long time, but you still get to new presents under the tree a little bit. So it's really exciting. And then you got the draft coming in another month and a half. So this is always one of those days. I will always remember where I was when we signed DeMarcus Ware, Akeem Talib, TJ Ward, all those guys. I was in California with my wife on basically we were getting engaged. So I was like, oh, wow, this is quite the day of free agency. And that day just turned out to be turning into one of the greatest defenses, if not the greatest defense of all time. So it's an exciting day. And I get why people are pumped up, and you're seeing guys that you want. And then, oh my gosh, they signed for that much. Never mind. And, oh, I didn't know I wanted this guy. And then they signed somebody else that you weren't thinking about. It's always a fun day. So happy Christmas to everybody.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody. I think for me, just, be grateful, Broncos country. We went through the hard times, man, and just be grateful that we have an amazing ownership group, because that's where it starts off. We don't have a drunken, whiskey riddling type of John Elway running the team no more. We don't have a trust that's has no direction. We've got a team that actually we got an ownership group that actually cares about the fans, that cares about players. And you look at the vision, it's crazy how every single move we've done has proven to be good. Like the fact that we got PS2 for less than what JC Horns signed with, because we were proactive with that, right? And then you look back and see what Miners got, and then you got Cody Ford or whatever his name is. I mean, I'm sure he's a good guard, but he signed for almost double what we ended up getting Miners for. So just getting ahead of it. We got a great ownership group, man. I love it. I went to Walmart earlier and bought a couple things. Actually, I bought some of this stuff. I went to Walmart because of the Broncos. I could have gone right down the street, but I drove to Walmart. So be grateful, man. It's a great time, and I'm excited, man. There's going to be a lot more fun news to come. So let's do it.
I love it.
So Mark, you paid for these guys, is what you're saying?
What was that?
Your patronage is what paid for these guys, is what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I actually thought about stealing it because I saw the contracts, but I was like, nah, they can deal it. Of course, I'm going to support the ownership group now.
There you go.
Well, maybe we'll be back in a few minutes once we sign Ingram. Again, Y'all subscribe. Make sure you're locked in with us. We'll be back to talk about whenever this next move happens. But appreciate you guys as always. Enjoy this Broncos country. We'll see you later.
Peace out. See you guys.
See you guys. Go Broncos.